Another day, another new game trying to break out into the spotlight. A couple of weeks ago, I watched a video about a new and up-and-coming shooter called Delta Force Hawk Ops, and from the screenshots and little bits in gameplay and teaser footage the video showed, I was interested and wanted to check it out. On their official Steam page, you could request access for their alpha test, and so I did. Now here we are, the alpha is live, and after playing the game for about 6 or 7 hours between two different multiplayer modes, the game is definitely trying its best to cater to the audiences that go beyond just the normal arcade shooter enjoyers. The campaign wasn't available to play, so that'll most likely be for the full release. If you're a fan of Battlefield and the larger maps, more players, and longer matches, you'll most likely enjoy the mode with some friends and a squad just messing around and having fun. And if you're a fan of Tarkov, the extraction mode hits enough neurons in my brain that makes it feel both enjoyable and familiar while being different enough to not feel like a complete clone or copy. It has plenty of the same mechanics and elements as Tarkov, but they have their own flair to them that make it distinct. Objectively, you can enjoy both modes of this game and have fun. Subjectively, however, something about Delta Force Hawk Ops feels uninspired, so let's talk about it. Starting with the big team battle mode, or Havoc Warfare as it's called, I played on 2 different maps, and while their designs are interesting and look good, I mean the entire game's fidelity is very high, their layouts for the mode don't feel as though they're gonna win any awards. The maps fulfill their purpose, but they don't really take any risks. One side attacks the objectives while the other defends and holds off the attackers until they run out of respawn tickets. If the attackers get both objectives, they push down the map and try to get the next 2. Rinse and repeat until they capture all of them and win. I will say, playing as the attackers at the immediate start of a match is kind of rough because there is very little effective cover and you're just trying to find moments where the defenders have a weak spot in their defense you can break through. It requires a decent amount of teamwork and coordination to find or create those moments, and using the kit of all the different heroes is important for making progress. Making an offensive push on an objective and having it work, or being able to defend one site by yourself against multiple waves of players does feel really good to achieve. Again, it's got that classic Battlefield style of moments that can only happen with tons of players on a large map with vehicles and different objectives to complete. But as it stands right now, after only a handful of games, which do take a while to complete to be fair, the magic of those moments kind of fizzles out pretty quick. I've always had this issue in these games. I'm not usually one to go for the vehicles, so I end up being a foot soldier most of the time. And while running around and fighting other players is cool, I feel as though I don't have a sense of purpose after a while. With a rifle, it boils down to just run, shoot, die, respawn, repeat. Speaking of dying, this game does what the modern Battlefield games do and make you sit there waiting to be revived or choosing to bleed out instead and just immediately starting their respawn timer while still having the chance to be revived. I hate that so much. Just put me back into the menu where I can choose my spawn point, and if a teammate is kind enough to revive me, which they normally aren't, I'll just spawn back in. The sitting around, seeing people run by you is so draining. Even if you get into it and maybe roleplay a little bit, that extra time doing literally nothing kinda sucks. I wish this game did not have that. But other than that, the multiplayer is what you would expect from something trying to get that Battlefield experience out of a multiplayer shooter. So how does the extraction mode hold up? Better than DMZ, that's for damn sure. No slight on that mode, but if the only thing I lose upon death is my gun, you've already failed to grasp what makes an extraction shooter or any extraction game so compelling and the desire of wanting to come back for more. Luckily, that is not a problem here. You kit up with armor, helmets, chest rigs, weapons, ammo, meds, everything you might need to survive a raid. Although one thing I noticed very early on is that instead of needing extra magazines to reload, you only need extra ammo, which does kind of make the experience a tad easier so you don't have to manage your magazines. Kind of reminds me of vanilla Stalker, where you only have to carry around extra ammo to be lethal. You can complete quests for rewards, fight bosses on the maps, extract from multiple different locations requiring certain items like money or being under a certain weight, and you even have a hideout style base where you can spend resources found in the world to upgrade modules for new effects. It's got everything you would need for a successful mode. Using the heroes that are in the multiplayer mode with their abilities available is an interesting choice. Not sure if it's good or bad because it's a little too early to tell, but it still allows for an extra layer of combat and strategy, which is always nice. There's already plenty of attachments on offer that are unlocked the more you play and level up, and also a handful of helmets, armors, rigs, and backpacks to choose from. Looting feels good, it's plain and simple. It's very similar to Tarkov with how you search through compartments to find the items you want to take, and there's a secure container to permanently hold on to a few items. The AI are not stupid. They take cover, they move around, and they're decently geared. They will kill you if you ignore them, and the PvP feels good also. In my time playing, I killed maybe 5 or 6 players, including a 3-man, which was very intense. But that does lead me to probably my main gripe with the extraction mode and the general gameplay of Delta Force. It feels like a budget, modern Call of Duty game. This is gonna sound really, really stupid, but just hear me out. Look at the game, and I mean really look at it. It kinda looks familiar, right? It feels very reminiscent of Call of Duty post-2019. The way the gun moves on the screen, the reloading animations, the way your character aims down the weapon. We've seen and even played this before. I am not claiming that Delta Force stole from Call of Duty, not at all. That well is so dry you can't steal from it anymore, but it doesn't have its own identity in that regard. No fancy or unique weapon animations for each weapon, everything feels stale and safe. That's probably the best word to describe Delta Force. It's safe. It's not bad, and I cannot stress that enough. It's especially going to be free to play once it fully launches, and I am impressed at how polished the game is in the entire package as a whole. A campaign, big team battle mode, and an extraction mode, that's a $60 or nowadays $70 title right there by any other company. But maybe my brain is just broken. After my time in the game, until it's out in 1.0 with all the modes, maps, features, and the like in the game that they want for a day one release, I'm kind of okay not playing it anymore. It's so difficult to explain and articulate why I feel this way. The game is good. Objectively, it is a good game. It has room to fill a niche that is being asked for by fans of shooter games. So why do I have this almost hostile stance against it? I think it boils down to the oversaturation of this market in general, but also the surface level presentation of the game's world and characters. The world, while feeling alive and interesting with a cast of playable and non-playable characters that try to get you involved and to care about the plights, feels kind of try-hard, if that makes any sense. Don't get me wrong, the designs for the playable characters are cool. They're unique to one another and modern and have their own flares and a little bit of personality attached to them. But at the same time, they also feel like designs that we've seen in other games in one way or another. And I don't find myself connecting with any of them, sadly. Again, they're not bad, but the characters kind of suffer from the same problem other parts of the games do, trying to get you to care further than a surface level. This game definitely goes out of its way to try to get you to care, and it's commendable. Maybe I'm not being fair enough, and I'm just jaded from many different games in the past trying to do the same thing, or maybe I'm just being a butthead. In fact, I know I'm kind of being an asshole, but I cannot help how I feel. And what I felt after my time playing the game was nothing. No emotion, no desire to keep going and level up further in either mode. I really hope someone can understand where I'm coming from and empathize with my plight for this game. For me, right now, it's hard to get invested to what is being presented. Maybe the campaign will help flush the operators out. Maybe the full release with everything unlocked will also help. But right now, after my couple of play sessions, I think I'm good with this game. I'm sorry. I want to apologize for sounding so negative about this game. This is so unlike me. I always want to give games a fair chance and see what it's trying to achieve, what it wants the players to engage with, and how that can be extrapolated to an audience who haven't played the game before. Delta Force Hawk Ops is not a bad game by any means, and my intention is not to shit on the game or the developers who have worked hard to create it. Please, if you like what you are watching, request access for the alpha on Steam, and hopefully you can get in and play, or wait for the game's 1.0 release if you aren't into early builds of games. But again, my visceral feelings towards Delta Force Hawk Ops is for now, I'm gonna pass. I'm hoping the full release will just have more content in terms of operators, guns, maps for both multiplayer modes, and maybe that will reinvigorate my desire to jump back in and grind the game out. But with the Tarkov wipe on the horizon, as well as another alpha playtest, I am actually extremely excited to hopefully get access to and play. I hope this game takes its time and releases when it's ready. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. If you've played Delta Force, please let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and be sure to subscribe for more videos that aren't so negative towards a new and up-and-coming title with a lot of potential for when it goes 1.0. I hope to see you in future ones.